Get those hands up and prelude. Oh, man. Get them up. Very crowded today at my little Central Park. We'll take a look around here. For some reason, there's always this fascination with squirrels. Not that there's some kind of sick, crazy addiction to just taking pictures of anything. It doesn't matter. But when it comes to a squirrel, it's more intense than a phone. People will stop as if they are looking at somebody that is visiting from Mars, because nobody has ever seen a squirrel before. But it just falls into the category of, if I've got a phone and I see a tree or a rock, I'm taking a picture. And get them up. Finally, I've tried several times to listen to Jonathan Edwards' Religious Affections. Today, to me, was a breakthrough, because it is absolutely just saturated with logic and scripture, and it's a little bit scary because on the one hand, he always gives a reason that affections may be good or affections may be not good, but affections are absolutely necessary, because I guess especially in his day and in the wake of the New Awakening, or the Great Awakening, churches were just dead. I mean, just like they are today, but even more prejudice against any type of affections, or as we know it today, maybe a better word is charismatic. But I remember David Brainerd's diary and journals, and other people looking in on that time period, were the thing that was so wonderful is that the spiritually dead staff at Yale, I think it was Yale, maybe Columbia, but one of the Ivy League colleges, wanted Edwards to come in and squash the uproar that George Whitefield had caused when he came and preached during the Great Awakening, during that period, 1730s, 1740s, when Whitefield was just going back and forth. Absolutely remarkable time in church history. But anyway, the staff, or all the professors at Yale, had pretty much just threatened the kids there, saying that, okay, if you make fun of us, we're going to kick you out. And they ended up kicking Brainerd out, which obviously was providence, because I don't think we would have the modern missionary movement today if it wasn't for Brainerd. But God would have picked somebody else, I think, anyway. But anyway, reading Edwards, and when he gave the speech, the staff thought he was going to squelch the religious affections, or some people thought it was an overabundance of this stuff. And Edwards just pretty much disappointed him. I mean, he told him, he just said, look, I don't know if you've noticed, but the Spirit of God has been poured out powerfully right now. And it was going on for a year at a time, 2 years at a time. And one of the famous quotes is that you could walk through the streets, even if they were paved for gold, you'd still end up going to the church. And, you know, Edwards is not one to be anything but completely neutral on things. Absolutely recognized as probably the greatest theologian that America's ever produced, easily, and maybe the world. I know Piper's been horribly influenced by him, terribly influenced, in a good way. And Andrew Fuller, who I talked about yesterday, absolutely, he was like the fountain that all the streams flowed out in the Reformed theology. Just absolutely, monumentally, theologically changing everything. Notwithstanding Luther, Calvin, Zwingli, and the rest of those guys. But there'll never be another Edwards, I don't think. But at any rate, this religious affections, I was really very pleased today in that I started to understand what was going on there, because nobody knew what to think about the ridiculousness of God works in mysterious ways, and in that time period in the 1700s, he was pouring out the Spirit. Some people were going way too far, some people not far enough. Even his own wife famously was just completely overwhelmed, physically, spiritually, every other way you could conceive of. And Edwards knew her so intimately that he defended her because he knew her, and he knew that this was not something that was contrived or made up. So it's absolutely a must read, and I need to reread it because we had this little incident this year where we had that Ames Asbury revival back in February, which I was hoping was going to take off, and I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I haven't been really keeping up with that part of it, but yeah. And then got to see Jim today, just very briefly, but he seems to be moving around better. This is the guy that last Saturday God gave me the ability to be able to help out with this guy, because he's not mobile, and he just got out of the hospital with surgery, a homeless guy. But I did my normal routine, going down to my favorite place on the Hudson down there. Went over and got my meal from the Red Door at the intersection of 7th and 13th. Came back just before I went over to Luke's Locker to get my Sunday outfit. Jim showed up, and long story short, we ended up getting him some clothes, something to eat, me a shirt, something to eat. We told each other that we loved each other, and really liked this guy, and just praying that he's not in too much pain, because when you're homeless and you've just had hip replacement surgery, it can be horribly painful, I'm sure. And then he was worried that he might have an infection, but at least he has some medicine to keep the swelling down. But I was concerned, but there's not a lot I can do. I can go get his medicine or whatever, but anyway, very encouraged to see him today, and very much looking forward to Lord's Day tomorrow. But overall, a very, very rewarding day, good day. So get those hands up, Lambrello! Oh!